Imagine this. It's the first week of a new semester. A faculty member walks into a classroom they're scheduled to teach in, and they're immediately overwhelmed. They don't recognize any of the technology. The online room guide they were emailed is outdated or confusing. 5 minutes before class starts, they call IT support in a panic. Sound familiar? If you work in AV, IT, or support, you know this isn't a rare story. It's happening on campuses every single day. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Mackay, and I'm an account executive with Talent 3 Business Solutions. And joining me is Frank Rosa, who is one of our co-founders. Today, we're here to talk about a critical issue we all face in higher education: bringing classroom potential to life through pedagogy and technology. And more importantly, how we can support our faculty so that they can thrive, not just survive, in technology-rich environments. Now let's take a closer look at the three main challenges that are holding us back. The first problem is a lack of effective and engaging faculty training. Faculty are at the heart of the learning experience, but in many cases, training is either non-existent, inconvenient, or overwhelming. Traditional tech training sessions often don't match the pace, schedule, or real-world needs of faculty. And let's face it, many faculty don't want a deep dive into the tech specs. They want to know, what do I need to do to teach effectively tomorrow? When training is inefficient or absent, technology adoption collapses, and all of that investment in infrastructure doesn't translate into better learning outcomes. Another big challenge is information accuracy. How many times have you seen classroom pages or inventories that are months or even years out of date? Faculty pull up a page expecting to see a simple camera and microphone setup, only to find a hybrid conferencing system that they may have loosely heard about in an email. Outdated information leads directly to anxiety, lack of confidence, and poor teaching experiences. Not because the tech isn't good, but because we failed to communicate it properly. And when things go wrong, the first place people turn is your support team. Whether it's 5 minutes before class, during a critical lecture, or while troubleshooting a hybrid session, every unnecessary support call drains resources. Many of these calls could be avoided entirely with better proactive communication, with better tools that give faculty instant access to the right information when and where they need it. At Talent 3, we believe that solving these problems doesn't start with buying more technology. It starts with building better bridges between the technology we already have and the people who use it each and every day. That's where Learning Space Profiles Plus comes in. LSP Plus was designed to give faculty simple, reliable, and accessible information about their classrooms, while giving AV and IT teams better tools to manage spaces, gather feedback, and reduce support loads. Now, instead of just talking about it, I'd like to pass things over to Frank, who will walk you through a live demo of LSP Plus and show you exactly how it tackles the three challenges we just outlined. Now, I know I introduced Frank a little bit earlier, but I didn't give a full background about him. Frank was in your shoes about 15 years ago when he first created the product. He was an AV manager who inherited about 450 learning spaces, and they were kept track of through 3 Excel spreadsheets. So he spent about 2 years looking around the market for a solution, and he couldn't find anything. So that's what inspired him to create LSP Plus, and I'll let him take it away from here.
Thank you, Ryan. So I'm just going to start off with a quick story. Ryan mentioned I inherited 450 spaces. It was actually, I wasn't quite sure because there was two spreadsheets and the third campus had nothing. So it took a while, and when I started getting data about these learning spaces, I was looking at the tickets, and a lot of them were about training. And I was saying, we got to prevent these because we're doing a lot of firefighting. So we said, well, let's get some training programs, and we started with pull strategies. Like, we set up classrooms like this. We invited faculty, and like almost virtually no one showed up. So we said, oh, okay, let's do it online. Virtually no one showed up. So when nothing else worked, we said, well, let's do the opposite. Let's do a push strategy. So we're going to do our job. We're going to provide 7x24 mobile-friendly training. And that's how the concept of the solution came up. Lastly, we said, let's work a little smarter. When we started looking at websites around the world about classrooms, a lot of them had make models. And faculty do not want to see make models. They actually want to see what are the capabilities of the rooms. And we started working with instructional designers and looking at our asset types and say, how do we do this really optimally so we have 7 by 24? Now, hey, we did our job. Our training is there for you. If there's any training issue, it's because you're not taking it. So now if you make these really nice looking and easy and quick and consumable content, then you could increase the likelihood of faculty diving into their rooms. So this software was built from the ground up in the cloud in Amazon. This is a live demo. The instance you're looking at is running out of Montreal, so it'll give you an idea about performance as well. Ideally, it would be closest Amazon center in the area. So let's look at LSP Plus. So this is a URL. It's accessible through your SSO. And you could go here, you could look, you could say, show me all the rooms show me all the buildings and all the rooms in a certain campus. Or you could go to a building, say I want to go to the main C building, click that, I want to see all the classrooms. So it quickly pops up all the classrooms. If you have a specific name and they want to just start typing, it'll start finding the room quickly. And you can see that you get these nice tile-based, which is pretty modern in terms of, here's the classroom. We're working with some institutions to automatically pull the classrooms that faculty are assigned to. So when they log in, hey, here's my classrooms. And it's hard for all of us and even faculty to come in if they get assigned a teaching room. And let's look at some of these. So I'm gonna look at the pilot room. Say you're a professor, you're assigned this room. Okay, let's look at it. So you could click on it. And quickly, you could get like a gallery of pictures you want to showcase to the room. So here they're showing the overview. Here they're showing an optional layout of the room. Here they're showing the erasable mobile dry erase boards, different views of the room. And this room had power through the carpet to give students power to their devices. You could also do a 360. So the faculty could go in here and actually virtually visit the room. And this is important too because it's hard to get into rooms. And when you guys need to upgrade or refresh a room, sometimes they're always scheduled. So how do you get in there? So here you could do kind of virtually visit the room and start designing. If you dive a bit deeper, it tells you obviously the location if you want to find out where it is, but it doesn't tell you the make model. And we started introducing at the time these very versatile Brightlink, Epson Brightlink, but we can't say Epson Brightlink, faculty won't know what that means. So we started working with instructional designers, and sometimes if you're lucky, your manufacturer will really give you a video that, and I have an example of one. If you're a professor and you go in here, you're trying to learn what this room is doing, and you click, what's this furniture here? So if you click on this video, when you see this room, you might think, hey, it's lecture style. You might start, hey, I'm going to start teaching lecture style. But you might not realize that those little whiteboards pop out and they fit in those slots, and you could immediately transform the room to test mode. And it starts showing other configurations. Imagine you're the professor. When you're teaching, you can say, oh, wow, I could use this, my lecture, I could use this room configuration. And you can start matching your topics, and you could take the asset of the room and map it to what you're teaching. And that's not very obvious. But how many of these videos exist? Not many, right? So what we did, and we started looking, because really when I was doing this job, the most interesting part of the job was you guys are making decisions all the time about introducing a new asset type. And if it's customer facing, why are you buying it? What's the value? What's the pedagogy value of that asset to the classroom? What is the professor supposed to know? If there's no video, we went to our instructional designers and we said, here's the box. We could explain it technically. Help me come up with a 2-minute consumable video. Imagine, so there's one of me. I put a video up. I could have personal one-on-one to thousands of professors. So we worked with instructional designers, and we created those videos for the ones that we didn't like that the industry was producing. then now you could go through your assets and just highlight those assets and create the content for them. There's also another one in this room here that I'm going to just showcase here. These were new technology at the time, and faculty don't like walking into a room and something's changed. So yeah, we had to be smart about this one here, because when we had smart boards, we trialed them and they were taking dry erase and they were writing on the screens. Big problem, big. So they just couldn't get used to it. So we said, okay, we learned from that one. This Epson was, I hated those rooms where you put the screen down and it covers the whiteboard. So the Epson projection it was a dry erase board. It was a projection board, and it was electronic ink. So here, when this professor is looking at this room, they see electronic ink, dry erase, and interactive board. They don't want to see Epson Brightlink. But how do you use it? Here's the training. They could just quickly look at this video. Again, in the palm of their hands, they could start learning how you use this board. And again, if you have your instructional designers, you could start augmenting what these videos are teaching and add additional materials or the message you want to get across. They could also see here teaching scenarios. Oh, document camera. So here's the pedagogy value. And I've never really read one of these, but after we started working at this level, we started really looking at all the asset types that are customer facing, and we asked ourselves, what's the description, pedagogy value of this piece? So it was really interesting. It gives you a lot of ideas how professors, I thought of 2 or 3 when I started researching this. It's actually 5 or 6. You could easily take that content, throw it into ChatGPT, say, write this in a way that's easy for faculty to consume. Review it. If you like it, you got the content.
So Frank, that's great and all, but I think we all have more than just classrooms. Is it possible to do other types of rooms with this system, or is it just the classroom and that's it? Like I have auditoriums, ballrooms, I think everyone in here does. Can you show us one of those rooms if you have?
Yeah. So let's look at you decide on the back end which types of rooms you want to expose. So in this case, you could say labs, you could say conference rooms, you could say studios. Let's look at a studio. Now, here's a faculty member. Their scenario is, hey, I want to remote record. And you have this capability, so they're going to look at this. And let's look for remote teaching and recording rooms. Just click on this. You could call that whatever you want, whatever the language is on the campus. And you see this room. Hello, there's one room that does this. So this room, it has a remote teaching, and it's like an AVER USA, but it's recording. So you could click on this, and here's the video. And what we did here is again, we extrapolated. Why is this good for faculty? Well, lighting is really important when you video, right? This thing has intelligent lighting. It makes the professor look energetic. It isolates sound in the area. It beams to your voice so the sound is crisp. And it's simple. You just plug in. Lighting's taken care of. The video's taken care of. And it's high quality video, and it also tracks you. So they could watch this video and learn more about it. And then here, if they get curious about this, they'll call you and they have meaningful questions. So that's an example of studio, but you could do conference rooms, you could do auditoriums. Let's look at an auditorium. The auditoriums are interesting. And this is one of the most unique auditoriums we've been in. Gotta go to home. Gotta go favorites. So this is auditorium here. And we're gonna again, imagine we're faculty. We're gonna click in there and do a virtual visit. So this is a large auditorium. That is a 50-foot by 20-foot LED. It's absolutely huge. And you can look at this classroom now. Oh, it's an active learning auditorium. That's interesting. That's going to get me started thinking about, I'm going to use this room. So I'm going to explore here. I'm going to look at what does this room do for me? So I'm going to click these images. I can see the back view, what the students could see, a side view. You can see the size of this room. you can see, you could showcase your podium. They're gonna start digging in, and they're gonna say, oh, 50 by 24 seamless video wall, high definition. We can display a lot of engineering stuff up there. Look at the front space. You could fit a miniature, a car up there. So I got a lot of space if I want to actually bring material up to showcase to students. Then I'm looking at, hearing assist. This room, because it's so large, how do I use the hearing assist? Well, you click on it, and it gives you a little training video. So immediately you start learning about how you're training. Then they could, again, go through here. Now, this is interesting. It's got an active learning style. It's a PDF that faculty can consume. What is active learning? What can I do? So this is typically something we wouldn't do. But really, we could partner with our instructional designers and say, hey, how do you want to, what do you tell faculty? How should they choose? What are some best practices? You could associate that stuff to assets, and you're amplifying their cause and also your cause.
So Frank, that's great and all, but we all have day jobs. We can't keep these pages up to date. That's kind of one of the problems I started with. So how are these pages built? How do we, there's a lot of valuable content on here, a lot of things that faculty would really like. How do we maintain them and keep them up to date? I get a new document camera, I want to put it in. How does that all work?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked. And this honestly I think is the best part of the system. And it took us a lot of trial and error to get it to this level. So essentially, if you want to add an item to a room, these pages, number one, they're automatic. You don't need a web designer. They auto-create. How do they auto-create? It's very simple. A professor asks for a room. The software goes into the room, it pulls out all the assets in that room. Every asset has a tag if you tag it with pedagogy content. It reconstructs the room and the page. So all you have to do is what you do regularly. I'm refreshing classrooms. I'm adding a piece of equipment to a room. All the training, all the pedagogy goes along with it. You don't have to do anything. When you remove an item from a classroom, that page automatically is up to date. So you're just doing your background job as you would do it, and these pages stay up to date. So there's one more critical thing here, and I'm going to show you this. So when I started using this system, and I would see it all the time when we put customers in there. I'm looking at your asset types. So you hear a nice visual of all your different asset types. I didn't know, number one, I was managing 820 different asset types. And you'll be surprised when you actually get data like this and you start seeing it. That's a problem. Now I'll tell you why it's a problem. Click on touch panels. This literally was a real scenario. This was my touch panel story. I had all of those touch panels. 111 of those TPS4s. Imagine the support of this. Support problem, classroom experience problem. Are you getting any volume discounts? Not when you're like this. So Ryan talked about those 3 business problems. We have to fix this. So it could look like this. Let's click on document cameras. Well, this is a way better picture. I've got 147 of the DC07s, but they're all still okay, but I have a lot of AVERs. And I've been experimenting with this DC30. So who's ever making those decisions, say you guys are looking at a new asset type. Let's pretend it's the DC30. This is the one we want to standardize on. And again, why are you picking this asset type? You got to ask yourself, what's the pedagogy value? All these document cameras, why is this one the best fit for us? From an experience perspective, yeah, we want to standardize support, like just Epson. So when professors are going from room to room, imagine a support technician. Well, they're supporting Epson, and then they walk into the room and they see all those other kinds. Way, way harder. So here you could look at this asset type. You define it. You put its life expectancy up. It's important. So when these assets go end the life, you'll get warning before they start failing. And then you literally come here and tag this equipment with the pedagogy content. And you see inherits one. Now this is super clever here, because we created that content about pedagogy value of document cameras, generic. We went to this folder right here, and we said, everything in this folder will have pedagogy document camera. That's it. Every time you introduce a new pedagogy camera in here, document camera, it automatically inherits that. But this camera here is specific. It's mobile. It's got, you could record. You could grab that at home, start recording, and professors won't know that. So this one is attached, has another piece of content. That's you analyzing the pedagogy value. That's it. Now this faculty content is associated to that device. As soon as you add that device to a room, that follows it. As soon as you remove it from the room, that pedagogy value automatically disappears. How quickly is it to add a room? Let's add a part. So say, for example, you're going in, and we're going to go to the items part, and we're going to press new. We're going to add a new part. We could technically open up a room, but I'm going to show you this way. I'm going to start typing DC, and it already found a bunch of things. So oh yeah, that's the one I want. You cannot screw up the name because the catalog governs the data for you. So you could check, is this the right part I'm adding to this room? You could press the little I. Oh yeah, that's the one. Okay. I'm going to put the supplier because I want to know who I bought it from. Suppliers are governed. Look, I typed one so it pops up. Purchase date. Here's my purchase date. It's important for end of life. And press save. Oh, it wants something else. Oh yeah, what room am I in? So you cannot, so you could type 100. Again, locations are governed. Oh, this is the room I want to add it in. Okay, let's save. There you go, I added a part.
So Frank, do you have to do this every single time you get a document camera one by one? Like, I'm pretty sure everyone in here gets bulk orders, hundreds of items at a time. Is there any way to do it quicker, or is it just you could do that every time?
I just showed you how quick it is and the high quality that you get. So let's do a bulk. So I went in and I created this desktop, this Excel file. Everybody loves Excel. Excel never says no. So you put your 10 rows here, and I just cut and paste. If you have the serial number, put it in, the date, and you're asking the software to create that asset type in this room with that serial number. If you bought 100 of them, put it in. All you have to do now is come in and click this little sprocket and say import. Let's import some data. So I'm going to grab that file, drag and drop it in there, and say import. So it's going to start to work, and it's going to return a file. It's going to return it back to you because you want to find out what happened. So I'm going to open it up. There you go. It immediately checks the data quality. If that room doesn't exist, that asset type doesn't exist, that row will turn red. You just have to fix the row that's red. We did this with 16,000 parts for a customer. It took 5 minutes. Not only upload, but it cleanses. It starts looking at data quality. So that's how simple it is. One, or you could do thousands at once. So there is idea.
Frank, you mentioned end of life. We're putting in a purchase date for each item. What exactly does the end of life mean? Like, why is that important? I mean, obviously it's important to know when things go end of life, but when you put that in, like, what benefit is it in this system? I thought we only had like faculty-facing rooms. They don't care when the thing's going end of life. They walk in and there's a new one. What's the actual purpose of it?
I think everybody in this room knows that question, end of life. And I remember when I was doing this job, the CFO looked at me and stared at me, paused for like a minute, and he said, "What is end of life?" Yeah, exactly. Depends. But at the end of the day, to me, what it means is, based on your knowledge, based on what the manufacturer says, based on the condition of usage, you have to make your best guess at how long should that asset live before it starts causing you problems and start creating classroom problems. Either the function, it just stops working, or it's flaky, or it's obsolete. So essentially, that's a big topic. we're at our booth. If you want to talk about end of life and the algorithms we have and the thing, but we're happy to show, because I have an extensive module on end of life. We're just showing you how to really look at your asset types. And again, it's so good to, when you pick an asset, once you get to this level, when you introduce a new asset type, you have to look at the asset type story, make a decision, understand what pedagogy value does this bring to the classroom. You get your instructional designers, you attach it to the asset type. That's all you have to do. Once that part goes into the room, your training stays up to date. When times it removes. Simple as that.
You guys implying that this will calculate or predict the end of life? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, it has, yeah.
We have a few minutes extra than we had planned on, so why don't you run an end of life report?
Yeah. So when we look at the catalog, and let's look at that DC, the one we looked at. So let's look at our document camera. So here you could say, let's look at the saver. 5 years, right? So let's run an end-of-life report. So I'm going to go to this new module, this module called items. Those are our asset instances. And you can see bottom, I didn't know this before, 7,500 asset instances we were managing, 820 asset types. So you just go to this report and say, let's do an end-of-life report. I want to break it down by building. I just want to just do the classrooms, and I want to focus on technology. You could change this to furniture. You could change this to touch panel. You could do as granular as you want. I'm saying all technology in classrooms, show me an end-of-life report. So how long did that take? Like 5 year. This is a 5-year estimate. So it tells you how many in year one. Currently, these are what you have end of life. And you know what? I know you laugh at this, but this will literally happen to me. We had so many assets. And then now what happens is, and you see the software is intelligent, that it tells you that if it's black, it means I'm pretty sure I know the cost of this, highly reliable. If it's red, you have to click on me, because it could be 95% accurate, or maybe 10%. By clicking on it, you'll see. Let's click on one. So this is touch panel, you can see here. School of Engineering owns it. And it went end of life it's going end of life in 2006. There's no replacement. It's giving you a red flag saying there's no standard for this. So if you go to that room type, what is your standard for touch panel? That thing will go black. And what it'll give you a higher, better estimate, because it's not replacing itself. You may be replacing a 4L with a 10L. It knows that 10L is completely different prices as the 4L. So it's intelligent enough to give you a good estimate or a way better estimate based on your knowledge. And it's a modeling tool. You could come into here and you say, well, I don't have 300,000. So let's click on these ones here. See, I only have 30,000 for this room. I could click on those items and you could see, oh, Draper, you know what? I could probably sneak another year out of it. I could simply click on the SI, change this to 144. That means all those screens are going to be expected. If that's the decision you make, because there's higher risk items that are going to fail before this, press save. Rerun your report. It will generate a new report side by side. And then you can see if that decision actually brought it down. But it pushed it out. This number went down, but this number goes up. That's what happens, right? And eventually, and this was a business case for me. I remember I loved sitting with finance. And they said, well, we don't want to give you that money. I said, well, here's 7-year-old projectors. Can I have your sign off to get another year out of it? Yeah, it wasn't. They didn't want to do that. So it helped with the business case. But for you, managing the money and managing the classroom experience, really, when faculty walk into the room, can they really understand and use that great technology you guys are bringing?
I think that's pretty much it for our presentation. We have more information as well at the booth about our whole Learning Space Manager platform. We outlined Learning Space Profiles Plus a lot, but End of Life is just the start. We have a whole asset management, service management background as well. We're happy to take any questions. If anyone has any, please feel free. And yeah, absolutely.
So if our campus is currently doing this ourselves, basically having part of our web content team manage this, and we have asset tracking from another service. Is there any sort of integration where this could be, instead of hosted on like your website, we could maybe do like a redirect or something to where it's still part of our, our campus website? Is this like embeddable, or is it just completely separate website and we have to re-import all that content from our current like data management database with our serial numbers and all that?
So it is an independent website. Part of your first year subscription, you give us your data as is, whether that's Excel spreadsheets, some people use other asset tracking methods, whatever it is, you hand it to us. We'll cleanse it and import it completely free of charge. That's included with your first year subscription, and 40 hours of training to make sure that you know how to maintain it properly in the system. As long as you do that, everything will remain squeaky clean, and it's no extra time for you and your team.
Sweet.
Nice.
Any other questions?
I'm assuming the end user, the client, is responsible for taking these images and the VR shots and stuff. Like that's all on the website.
That's correct. Yeah, we can't. We'll train you on how to import the pictures and the 360. We'll tell you the technology. Yeah, that part. Yeah, if you have them, you could give them to us and we'll import them. But if you don't have them, you could walk into every room and just look at it and upload the pictures. You could segregate pictures too, because we were not. This wasn't a full demo. The system was focusing on the pedagogy value, but literally. When you're going into, let's open up a location. I'm just going to pop up any location. So I'm going to open up my my main campus here. Main campus, I'm going to open up the C building. I'm going to click on the first floor and see my classrooms here. So if I pop up the pilot room, you see it has the tab attachments. And then it has the faculty tab. So these are the images that show up for faculty. But obviously, there's some images that are important to us, like pictures of the rack. And you might want to put those here. So, and you can also put invoices here for the room. Anything, any document associated to that room just helps you organize information instead of chasing for it.
Yep, absolutely.
Piggybacking off that, so the faculty log into the site to see.
Yeah, it's all SSO.
Okay.
Everybody at SSO, yeah.
Is there different roles? So if a tech logs in, they see a different.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. You see these screens right here? I'm looking, these screens here are for the learning space service providers. When faculty log in, they only see, this is their landing page, and they could only stay within this part of it. This is the automatic generated part.
Yep, absolutely.
You can track like the IPs and firmware and all that. Like, can you add those features into the?
Yeah, if I go to the back office view, so I'm gonna pop any object in the system, a classroom, an asset type. Well, I'll pop on up an asset type, an asset instance. So let's look at asset types. Wireless, wireless. Let's look at your wireless microphones. So if I pop up this, you could see that the properties tab, whenever any object has a properties tab, these attributes here, you could custom design, create any custom field, its data type, and you could say, is this attribute at the asset type level, or is it at the asset instance? For wireless things, the IP is at the asset instance, but the properties of the product, how many plugins it has, that's an asset type, keeps it really efficient for you. Yes?
How brandable is this?
So the back-end system looks like this.
Yep.
The front-end system, the faculty-facing one, 100% brandable. Like Frank, if you pull up
Let's pop up the theme editor, yeah.
Exactly. Frank, maybe run through the theme editor then.
So if you're familiar with CMSs, this is the low-code CMS. So here you could change the branding, the colors, pretty much everything, but it's low-code. It just gives you enough to do your classrooms, what's important to you. Yeah.
So you have all these things kind of tied to rooms. What if you have AV that is like, we call them cows, cart on wheels, there ways to track assets that are mobile like that as a
Yeah.
checkout system kind of?
So it does have an optional checkout system. It's an extra module if you want to do loans. But conceptually, I popped up location types. This is an abstract view of your institution. You could create a type called mobile space or a mobile cart. And you could define those in the system and where they live. So yeah, you have full control of your asset, like location types. Everything comes because of SaaS. Everything comes out of the box working. You just configure it.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening to us. And if you have any more questions, want to see a demo or anything, our booth is just in the main bar. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.